Welcome to Private Club Radio, your weekly source for industry education, news and discussion. Broadcasting from Tampa, Florida, ladies and gentlemen, here is your host, Gabriel Aloisi.
Hey, welcome to Private Club Radio. I am so very happy that you've joined us here today. Wonderful to have you, because today's episode is going to be just a little bit different from any other episode we've ever had here on Private Club Radio. I was at the Membership Directors Association of Southwest Florida conference a few weeks back, and while they were having a little cocktail hour, I was told a story that I thought was absolutely fascinating. It was so good that I had to have her come on and tell it to us on Private Club Radio. So please welcome to the show, Marketing Director of Eagle Creek Golf and Country Club, Miss Laura Hill. Welcome to Private Club Radio, Laura.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so the story that I'm going to have you relate to really has to do with public relations, and I know you had a background in public relations. So why don't you first just take us through your experience and a little bit about yourself, Laura?
Sure. Well, while in college, I interned for Governor Bush's press office in Tallahassee, Florida. So I spent about a year there. And then I had also interned for basically sports marketing for the University of Florida's Sports Information Department, which gave me a lot of insight into public relations and sports marketing. Mm-hmm. From there, after graduation, I worked for the Miami Heat in sales. So then some of my marketing and sales experience comes from there as well. Also, real estate. I have a heavy real estate background, which also helps me in the country club industry.
Nice, yeah.
When it comes to that. Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a pretty diverse background there. So why don't you set us up the story and what happened to your club, and then we'll get into how you actually dealt with the problem. But let's talk about the problem first.
Sure. I think this was, looking back on it now, a really good case study for clubs and potentially resorts that go through what I call a 1-2 PR punch. We had a physical, basically catastrophe with Hurricane Irma. We were the first 18-hole golf course within a residential gated community to be hit by Hurricane Irma, Category 3. Our golf course would have been underwater at 3 feet, and our homes would have been underwater at 5 feet, with a storm surge projected at about 5 to 10 feet.
Wow.
So when that hit us, we were going through a golf course renovation at the time. And that was kind of the first, from a sales and marketing and PR perspective, the first punch, I think.
Yeah, it's tough to sell golf properties and golf course memberships when there isn't a golf course and it's underwater.
Yeah. Definitely. And, we had this whole marketing plan set up for the whole year, and I was really excited about it. And then when I drove through the gates after the hurricane, I was like, oh, wow.
Oh, my gosh.
How are we going to make it a great sales year after you start looking through a damaged community where we lost over 1,500 trees? And I didn't know if I would have my job, to be honest with you. When
Sure.
you think you're going to have a golf course 10 feet underwater, you really don't know if you're going to have a job. So, we were thankful that no one in our community lost their lives. Everyone had their homes, first and foremost. But we did lose about 1,500 trees. And the one good thing that worked in our favor was the fact that we had a contractor on site already doing the renovation. So when other golf and country clubs were searching for the manpower to get their golf courses up and running, we were lucky enough to already get back to work and pretty much pull up our bootstraps and get going again. And we opened up a month after our projected opening date of October 15th, before other clubs that hadn't gone through a renovation. We were opening up before them because we already had the manpower.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things I couldn't do from a marketing and PR perspective. I couldn't fly the drone. I was going to fly over each and every hole after the golf course renovation, because now we've got blue tarps on tile roofs and pool cages ripped off the back of the homes. and over 1,200 trees missing from areas. So it really was difficult to overcome that, and we're still trying to finish up a year later, almost a year later, of that drone flyover. But really, it was an eye-opener for me that when I took a prospective non-resident golf member around the golf course, we were about to open 3 weeks before he committed to a membership. But he goes, you know what? I can't believe how great this golf course is. I'm going to join. And at that moment, I thought to myself, wow, you know, the message is clear. People see the work that we've done. And actually, the golf course superintendent and his crew, really big thanks to them for getting it up and running and looking beautiful. And we're on over 300 acres. So I knew that there were 1,500 trees. But for someone that's looking at the golf course after a Category 3 hurricane, they didn't know that there was 20 trees to the left of number 2. You know, they didn't know that, but we knew that.
Right.
So they didn't see what we kind of had seen in the past as far as before, what our golf course looked like before. But when I started having members commit money before we were fully open, about 2 months after the hurricane hit, I knew we were onto something. And so that's when I started a PR campaign, and I wrote a press release that went out to the national press and international press, just saying, look, Southwest Florida is open for business. You know, you don't count us out this season. Our golf courses are looking good. We've got a great story to tell. And so that press release was picked up by Golfdom Magazine twice. They did a renovation to restoration story. Golf Course Industry Magazine, in their March issue, just released A Path of the Storm. We were part of their featured stories. Club Resort Business Journal had a cover story on what all clubs can learn from the wildfires, floods, and hurricanes of 2017, and we were lucky enough to be part of that article. Bunkered, which is the largest golf magazine in Scotland, Florida Green Magazine. We just got a lot of PR and press, and the goal was really to let everyone know, come down to South Florida, come down and golf, and we're open for business. So that was really the first what I call in our 1-2 punch that we received this season.
All right. Well, before we get to number 2 in the punches, let's just talk a little bit more about some of the press coverage you got. So lots of people probably aren't sending press releases out regularly about their club. What would be some of your advice, Laura, on how to craft a good press release that could get picked up by some of these places?
Yeah, I would recommend getting quotes from, I got quotes from the general manager, from the golf course superintendent, and really just start to think about what would someone find interesting? What's the take home here? What could they learn from this? And you take a local story and make it a national story. And really the big takeaway was, you thought that the worst is over, that we wouldn't be able to sell any golf memberships. But the proof is that we have.
Yeah.
And I really think that getting that positive ending at the beginning of what you might start to think is just a bad story of how this golf course gets hit by a direct hit. And really my message would also be is continue your marketing plan. If anything, looking back on it, the worst thing we could have done was to say, you know what, we're not going to continue the marketing plan this year.
Bury your head in the sand. Yeah, that's not
right.
a good method.
Exactly. You just keep going.
Right.
Keep positive.
I think people love a story. They love overcoming adversity, obviously, is a theme in most stories, if you look at any stories out there. And I think you guys captured that really well. And yeah, I think when there is a disaster like that, it's got to be a time when kind of the club as a community really gets together and really tries to work together. Did you find that to be the case?
Oh, absolutely. Between the Homeowners Association and the Golf and Country Club, we were able to clear roads right away and come together. It really brought everyone together. We had members of the food and beverage team on the golf course a day after helping the golf course crews clean up. I mean, everyone from every department came together for the whole of the community. It really did bring everyone together.
Yeah, you see that here in Tampa. It's funny, like lots of people don't even know their neighbors. But when disasters and things like that happen, then everyone's in it together. It's much more social. On my street after the hurricane, people were the power was out, so people had candles and they were all kind of having some drinks together and hanging out. And it was really fun to see. It's amazing that really how these disasters bring people together. It's really cool.
And even the community, we have our own YouTube channel, and we had a communication crisis plan. So I evacuated I had internet access. Mm-hmm. So our members, we were always in communication. They were getting an email. If they weren't here, they always had a sense of what was going on.
Right. It's important.
So always having, from a marketing and PR standpoint, within the gates of your community, just a good communications plan.
Yep. That's a really good lesson for folks out there. Well, let's go to number 2 in the 1-2 punch. This is a pretty big punch, and this is what really got me interested in having you come on Private Club Radio. So can you explain to folks what happened?
Yeah. So, we thought we made our way out of the hurricane. And then, of course, we've got a rumored corporate entity lurking behind the scenes that would like to purchase the Golf and Country Club. And so this rumor was getting out pretty quickly, and now we've got a reputation to defend. And at first we thought it was a rumor, but when everything was said and done, we ended up having a town hall presentation with one of your guest speakers, Henry DeLozier, with Global Golf Advisors, to speak to our residents and really just kind of clear the air about what was going on.
So basically they were trying to act as if they were going to come and take over the club. They thought you were in a weak position after the hurricane, that they could maybe snatch you up, and so they started spreading rumors around town.
Well, yeah, I mean, the word of a corporate entity purchasing Eagle Creek, there was some truth to that. And so where we're located is closely near Marco Island, and it's a smaller island where word gets out pretty quickly. And I knew we had an issue when one of my members came to my office and said, my hairdresser told me that this corporate entity is going to purchase Eagle Creek. What's going on?
Yikes.
And I said, okay, so we've got a PR problem on our hands. That's when I knew it was bad. And, a lot of our members thought that they would become rich if this corporate entity did purchase Eagle Creek Golf and Country Club. And to their defense, they didn't know. No one really knew what the offer was, and that's why we decided, okay, enough is enough. Let's have a town hall meeting to speak to the residents. And we have a 98% satisfaction rating with our membership, and we've been member-owned since 1996. We're in no need of a financial help. So usually what happens is when you want to be purchased by an entity, you're looking to get out of the club business. That's not something that Eagle Creek wanted to do. We're proudly member-owned. So we did have Henry DeLozier here, and once the members started hearing the reality of what this corporate entity wanted to do, and that it would be a transient golf course in their backyard, they wanted no part of it.
Right.
Once we were able to move on from that, as far as the members, knowing that they were going to have a member-owned course and it was going to continue to be member-owned, that's great, but in the marketing and PR department, we still have an issue. How are we going to overcome this?
Yeah,
especially...
You came up with an ingenious plan. I mean,
well, thanks.
So
it really was great. I have to say, I'll share it with you.
Yeah. So what happened is you released a number of ads in the newspaper. You did one, I think, on Black Friday, was it? And another one, was it around New Year's or something? Could you set up what those ads looked like for folks and kind of explain the message that you put out there?
So, yeah, absolutely. So, what we did was we needed to clear the air and let everyone know that we weren't going to be purchased by a corporate entity. So my marketing and membership committee, my chairman said, all right, Laura, you got the green light. Let's run an ad in the paper. And it's like, okay, well, let's start thinking about what we could run. And I said, well, you know what? In 2 weeks, we've got Black Friday. And how ironic would it be if we ran a We're Not For Sale ad on the biggest sale day of the year? That'll get the message across real quick. And even if you weren't interested in buying a membership at Eagle Creek or a home at Eagle Creek, or even if you had never heard of the rumor living in North Naples, You will definitely want to read this ad because people are looking to buy things in the paper on Black Friday. Let's face it, that's the one reason you're flipping through.
It's the only day of the year we buy a physical newspaper.
Right, and to be told that you can't buy something on the biggest sale day of the year, that just came naturally to us, I think, and it was a no-brainer. We ran it, and one committee member that I work with, his background is in advertising, and he says, we've got to cut through this clutter. That's a great message, but how are we going to cut through the clutter? Sure, we could do a nice golfer, but that's not going to draw anyone's attention. We basically showcased a Black Friday ad that said, this Black Friday, some determined shoppers will be majorly disappointed. They'll discover that Eagle Creek is not on sale. And it features a lady that is screaming that looks like she woke up at 5 a.m. to go shopping.
And she didn't get the Tickle Me Elmo that her son wanted.
Exactly. She was very disappointed she could not buy that one Tickle Me Elmo. So that drew your attention no matter what. And then the message was pretty funny. And it directly attacked the issue at hand, that Eagle Creek is not going to be purchased, and it fell on deaf ears. So we can move on from that. And we've always have and always will be a member-owned club for over 30 years.
Yeah.
And you either loved it or you either hated it, but the one thing is you remembered it.
It's
and that's
polarizing,
what's so great
yeah.
about it.
Yeah, I think,
Exactly.
I think it serves two purposes, too, because not only were you squashing rumors out there, but technically, in a roundabout way, you were bringing attention to the club from people who probably hadn't even thought about the club in the community in a while.
Exactly. I thought it was just fun. This is where marketing and advertising becomes fun and creative. And of course, none of this was in our marketing plan for the year. We didn't know any of this was going to happen. So you really had to be thinking on your feet when it came. That's what my number one recommendation would be for PR and marketing is you've just got to know your product. And when that opportunity comes where you've got to kind of fight back, you've got to know your product so well, and you've kind of be quick on your feet with the message. And then, of course, we've got Christmas and the holidays the next month, which is where we kind of wanted to run. We ran an ad that said, I think around the holiday season, the face of a corporate Scrooge, a face you'll never see at Eagle Creek.
Wow.
And that definitely was, there was no question. We were definitely directing our message to those because honestly that hurt some sales.
Sure.
And now it's our time to defend ourselves, and so we're not going to tiptoe around the subject, which is something we talked about. Do we tiptoe around this? And you know what? We're not going to. They definitely hit our sales hard in the season coming, so we said, you know what? We're going to make it a very clear message. A corporate Scrooge is a face you'll never see at Eagle Creek. And again, you either loved it or you hated it, but you read it. And even if you didn't know we were going to be purchased or had been rumored to be purchased, you would read the whole message. And it really did cut through the clutter. And we ran that. And I think slowly we were progressing in the direction of recovering from that PR meltdown.
You did such a great job. I mean, that really, like I say, is ingenious, and I really got a kick out of that. So what's been the result of what's happened now after the cleanup and, of course, that corporate takeover basically not happening? What situation is the club in now?
Well, actually, one more thing we did was more of an outside-of-the-gates PR thing, was Eagle Creek is surrounded by large developer-owned golf and country clubs. Bundled golf and country clubs. And I said to myself, one more message for those that are questioning if we are financially secure or what type of a golf program that we operate here. I wanted to do something else, and that was we have a 3-day men's golf invitational the third week of February. So what I wanted everyone to know as they drove to Marco Island was to know that we are a true golf and country club. Don't get us confused with a bundled club or a corporately owned club. We offer an invitational which other clubs surrounding us don't. So that's another differentiator between Eagle Creek and other golf courses. So we parked over $300,000 worth of Jaguars out in front of our golf course, or of the gates of Eagle Creek, to let people know, oh, wow, what's going on over there?
Mm-hmm.
And that was really to promote our golf event. And people were actually driving through the gates to stop and we had a banner that said, "Welcome Golf Invitational Guests." So people knew right off the bat, okay, this is a true golf and country club.
Right.
This is not a bundled club that I'm a member of down the street. And so that's pretty much got our message across again, because we had an internal PR and an external PR problem. But to be honest with you, looking back on it, this year our sales started out slower because of everything that happened this year, but we actually beat last year's numbers. And I also give thanks to, we won, Eagle Creek Golf and Country Club won the Best of Gulf Shore Life magazines. We were not the only golf course nominated for Best Tennis Facility and Best Golf Course in Naples.
Congratulations.
So the story continues, yeah. So we actually ended up, in my mind, I think we ended up better than what we started out.
Right, you're in a stronger position now because you really took the challenge head on, I think is really the lesson there for folks. You can turn any negative into a positive when you use PR and a good strategy, and you're creative about it.
Yeah, and just this week we were saying how our golf reciprocal numbers are up. And we believe we can attribute that to, winning the Best of Naples golf course. We were top 3 in that, and out of 80 championship golf courses in Naples, this is the first time that we've been nominated for that. So it's actually, we're seeing that affect our bottom line too. So in reciprocal golf play and in our resales with homes.
That's amazing. Laura, I love the story. I'm so glad you came on here to share that with us. If folks want to learn more about Eagle Creek, I invite you to check out the website, eaglecreekgcc.org. Learn more about that wonderful club down in Naples area. And if you want to follow Laura, you should follow her on Twitter. Her handle is @FloridaLaura. And it's a really interesting account that you'll enjoy. So, Laura, thank you so much for joining us, and hope to speak with you again here on Private Club Radio one of these days.
Anytime. Thank you.
Oh, man, how good was that? I thought that was so clever. I hope you enjoyed that story as much as I did. I want to remind you before I leave you today that this show can only grow if you help share it. We just had one of our largest months ever. We just had our biggest download day in the history of this show last week, in fact. But there are more people who need to hear Private Club Radio that could get so much out of it. I go to conferences all the time and I ask the question, do you know about Private Club Radio? Have you listened to an episode? A lot of people know about it, but they don't necessarily tune in. There's staff at your club. There are colleagues in this industry that could greatly benefit from the lessons that we share on this show for you, absolutely free every single week. Could you do me a favor and share it with one friend or colleague in the industry this week? We've got an app on the App Store, whether it's iPhone or Android. Everyone's got a phone in their pocket. They can access this show. You don't have to use it on iTunes. You don't have to go to Stitcher or however you're listening to the show right now. You can simply download the app and have it right there on the home screen. That's the easiest way for people to consume this show and to get more industry knowledge. If you love this show and you want to see it grow like I do, and you want to help this industry, would you please take that 5 minutes, probably 2 minutes this week, and just share it with a few of your friends. Send them an email with the link to this show. That would do me such a big favor. Thank you in advance. I'll catch you back here next week. Until then, here's to your membership success.
Private Club Radio is brought to you by Concert Golf Partners, helping to preserve and enhance private golf and country clubs. Concert Golf has the capital, expertise and private club hospitality experience to help upscale private clubs achieving long-term success and membership growth. For 25 years, Concert Golf has allowed private club members to focus on simply enjoying their club. Visit concertgolfpartners.com to learn more about the recapitalization process.